Viewers, you're tuned into a special broadcast here on Times Now. We're going to further analyze the exit poll numbers and we're going to look at them in a manner that no one has done before, throwing up figures for you which might astound you, which might spark conversations. But before that, here's what we can tell you. You've seen the exit poll predictions, viewers, yesterday. They predict a very big win for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But there are four numbers that haven't really been focused upon. They haven't even been reported as yet. Let's deep dive into these exit poll figures once again and pull out these startling figures that could have chilling implications for the Congress party and the opposition at large. And I am not in any way overstressing the point. Not only do the numbers prove that the Congress has not been able to halt the Modi juggernaut, but there is a very distinct possibility, viewers, that the Congress might even struggle to get to the 55-seat mark. And that is crucial from a psychological point of view. Why? Because at least that will guarantee to them the position of opposition, the leader amongst the opposition parties in Parliament. Now let's look at these numbers. I want us to first focus on the Hindi heartland seat share. Now if you look at this poll in isolation, you are not going to be able to read the story. But look at these numbers. Uttar Pradesh, the tally in 2014 for the BJP 71, and you can see that there is a gradation. Times Now 56, Axis 65, C Voter 38, Chanakya 65, Ipsos 61, Nielsen 22, most conservative. Poll comes to 51. And if you go down the list, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, from left to right, you see how things are shaping up. The polls suggest that the BJP is going to actually get about 130 seats in this Hindi heartland, out of what they actually had earlier, 167 in 2014. That's only an erosion of about 37 seats, not very much. If you really think about the fact that there has been the weight of anti-incumbency over 5 years. So this is across 199 seats. Now let's look at the second graphic, which I want to talk to you about. Look at the vote share, viewers. The vote shares, in fact, inch upwards. It's inched upwards for the BJP, which tells you perhaps that there are more people coming out on the back of a very strong organizational machinery that is sucking in voters and ensuring that votes are cast in their favor. Now, this is what we have to look at. The number of seats hasn't changed. The number of contests hasn't changed. Roughly the same. And if that vote share is even increased by 0.5%, it could lead to a greater conversion on seats. And let me explain that to you. Let's go to the next, the strike rate. This is what you have to look at. The number of seats contested to the number of seats won. Now, if you look at the exit poll Times Now VMR data, you see the polls number 130. It's very, very clear. In 2019, they've contested 172, fewer seats. I remember I told you higher vote share, which means there's been more concentration. And though the projection seems to be at 130, the strike rate is at 76%, about 10 or 12% less than 2014. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. Remember, in the Hindi heartland, especially in Uttar Pradesh, the Congress fielded some very strong candidates. And we will show you, as the evening wears on, that even the Muslims have actually deserted the Congress in large pockets, choosing other parties. Yes. So, that number, that conversion, because the Mahagathbandhan might actually be tripped by the Congress party, might lead to a greater seat yield. And that's why today a large number of us are getting the UP number wrong, the Hindi heartland number wrong. That's what I would say to those who said we've traveled but we haven't picked this up. Yes, it is a silent consolidation on the back of a very strong machine and some very clever positioning. Now look at this. This is very interesting because we are talking about the vote to seat conversion. Now I told you viewers, this hasn't come down much. For every 1% vote secured by the BJP, they pick up 4 seats in the Hindi heartland. Yes, this time we are predicting for every 1% they could pick up 3. But as I told you, written into this is the UP scenario, where if there is fragmentation of the opposition vote, that number could even go up to 5. And that's why you're seeing this great variation across exit polls. And this is what the Congress now needs to examine, look very, very closely at, because it will suggest to you, and we're going to change our top bands on this. It's very simple. The deep dive into the exit poll result, sensational hidden statistics, 4 numbers that Congress must fear, what no pollster has told you, viewers. Can Rahul even win 44 plus seats? This is where it's all going to be decided. This is where it's all going to be decided. It's the Hindi heartland. These are straight contests. Every gain for the Congress will come at the expense of the BJP. Every loss for the BJP will accrue to the Congress. Has the Congress done enough? Has it played its cards well enough? Was it a big mistake not to concede more ground, perhaps to the Gathbandhan? Could they have played a smarter ground game? We don't know. I want to open this out. Let's bring in Sabha Naqvi. Sabha Naqvi, what do you believe? Do you think this analysis somewhere sits right?
So my absolute, Rahul, I'll tell you a piece which came out on the morning before the exit polls. I have written there that I believe that the Congress had it all wrong. And it put out a false line which the media picked up and replicated, that somehow they have put in candidates to help the Gathbandhan and defeat the BJP. I have written there that the opposite happened. That they actually were damaging the Gathbandhan. You'll find that it's called Congress conundrum, whatever. But that is part of the things that I have written in that piece. So I personally believe that, I mean, I've written this about coalition arithmetic, that the BJP was, even in the end, at the end of the Modi tenure, it gave large spaces to the Shiv Sena and the JDU, even though I suspect you'll find that the BJP strike rate will be better than the Allies strike rate. But it was necessary at that point to do so. The Congress, on the other hand, did not play the large, the party which is going to carry an alliance forward, and it was competing with its allies for turf. It went and fought in Kerala. It had a completely disastrous policy in Uttar Pradesh. But the wonderful part, I mean, it is really revelatory to me that the media bought that line, that we are helping the Gathbandhan.
We are helping the Gathbandhan.
The media bought that line, and I never believed it, and then I saw on the ground it was completely false.
Completely false. Yeah, Mr. Achari.
Yeah, Rahul, if Congress had to commit suicide, and this is the right moment they have committed the suicide, in the name of doing vote katwa, they themselves have finished. The vote share is going to come down so low that to retain the 44 numbers in the Lok Sabha to match their previous 2014 record, it is not going to happen. And vote conversion of 1% to 3 seats which you are giving, and may go to up to 5%, 5 seats, I think even it may go to 6 seats, and they may go down even below 44 seats. And the strike rate of BJP, 76% after 5 years of a rule. It is enormous. It's a huge.
So let's ask some basic questions. Why is it that the other narrative seems to have evaporated in just less than 6 months? And I want to bring in on this particular debate at this point Shekhar Iyer. Shekhar Iyer, what happened? How is it that the Hindi heartland, which was seeming to swing the other way, is now back in the BJP fold?
Well, I think apart from the fact that they could not have an arrangement with the Gathbandhan, I think the bigger thing was they started too late. Priyanka came in too late. Even Rahul became Congress president in January of 2017. I mean, when you are going to December, I mean, by the time he got into full operation, you know, I mean, can you afford to be so? And even take the case of Priyanka.
No,
her
you're
announcement-
almost suggesting that had they come in earlier, this would not have happened. Then what explains the erosion
No, I
in the
feel-
BJP support in the assembly elections? Now, what could have been the issue? Because it's quite obvious that if it's not anything to do with the ground situation, if it was only an anti-incumbency localized against the state satrap and Modi needed to come and be in the equation, then whether Priyanka had started 6 months earlier or a year back wouldn't have helped, would it have?
I think two mistakes that Congress has made. One, they did not realize that Akhilesh was serious about the alliance with BSP, with Mayawati. They thought probably there will be some secret understanding and Akhilesh would do a lot, because the way the alliance broke after UP election was not on personal terms. The fact that didn't work.
Do you think it would have even mattered, Shahzad Poonawala? Do you think all these factors would have mattered, or have people actually misread the sentiment at a very basic level of the people? Maybe they're very happy with Mr. Modi and they don't buy this chor, chokidar nonsense that was being spewed.
You know, you have used on your Twitter handle two terms, vote catcher and vote cutter. I think we must use a third term, vote repeller. And I want to tell you that in New India, the kind of feudal structure that the Congress party inherently has is a vote repeller. It is not a viable vote getter at all. In fact, whatever little bit that it wins is because the other leadership, the state leadership, the regional leadership is at display. It is not because of Rahul Gandhi that Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Punjab were won. It was won despite him. And the sooner the party gets rid of the parivar, I think the better it is for them. It has now become the Midas touch.
It is quite
in
too
Abdul
early
Razak.
to write off. It is
Abdul
too
Razak.
early to write off.
Too
We
early to
don't
write off.
have
You're
the
still in-
numbers.
Okay, I
Let
understand
the numbers
that, but
come.
look-
the kind of reception we saw for Priyanka Gandhi's
Look, now don't tell me that the exit
We
polls are
have
fakes, then they are fudged, and you
recession
know.
is there for-
not getting
I mean, look at the number of exit polls. Have I taken one exit poll?
Recession is there for
But
Queen
Mr.
Elizabeth
We have
and
seen-
Queen Elizabeth's children also. That doesn't mean votes.
An isolated
Priyanka is a
election
part
like
of the imperial
Gorakhpur,
culture
you
of
are
this
not
country.
able to
There people
save.
come to see, to
Now
take
it is
photos,
just a
selfies, everything they
speculation
come
that
for.
it can be
But
this,
votes
but it
देने
is
नहीं
not
जाते.
this. You're
Rahul,
just trying
if
to
they-
undermine.
if they-
Come on, it is
Maybe there was no
Rahul,
message
one-
except for
one
a
point-
negative one.
one
What
point
was
is
the
Muslims
alternative? Let
deserting
me
Congress.
bring in Tom Vadakkan.
Muslims deserting Congress, rather they are not only deserting Congress, they are migrating towards BJP. Especially
I don't know
Muslim
about that.
women.
I don't know about that.
Muslim women. Because-
Elections are over,
No, one
Acharya.
second, one second. There has been a definite schism in the Muslim vote. Shias and Sunnis have sort of tended to be voting differently. But I'll tell you one thing, Mr. Achari, that Muslim vote that used to go to a significant extent, so 1 minute, to the Congress is even going now to the left in Bengal. This is what the numbers are going to show you a little later in the evening. So the Congress is not trusted now by even those who felt that they could get a degree of justice from the Congress under Congress rule. And that points to a severe crisis. I want to bring in Tom Vadakkan of the BJP. Look, you're in the driver's seat right now, Mr. Vadakkan. But many people will say that the messaging from the opposition was so negative that you have actually used that as positive energy to turn this into a presidential campaign. Some others will say, who are your critics, that you have used the schisms, the fault lines very well, using polarizers in the Hindi heartland. You brought in Pragya, you brought in Yogi, you brought in a whole panoply of players who have pit people against people, and that's why we are seeing this fragmentation. How do you respond to that, sir?
Rahul, as far as strategy is concerned, that I'll discuss. But let me tell you the fault lines. This is man-made disaster waiting to happen. The process of selection of candidates by the Congress was left to one General Secretary who supervised the affairs, and he did not, let me reiterate, he did not have a clue who the candidates were, their backgrounds, or where they came from. He signed papers based on what input he received from people who had a long laugh after he left. This General Secretary, who hails from some from
I'll
southern
tell you,
India.
there was a lot of
I'm
talk,
not
and I
naming
think
anybody,
Shahzad
I'm
will
not in the
remember
business.
this. There was
He
talk
came in,
that there were
he
some
had
candidates
no clue,
here,
blindfolded.
even
He
in
came
Noida,
He
who
came
felt
in
that
and
certain
selected
general secretaries
candidates.
in charge
Now
of a
today,
particular part
if
of the
they've
state in the
fallen
Congress
flat,
party was
it is
selling
the
seats to
Indian
the highest
National
bidder.
Congress that has.
That's what
Yeah,
I don't want to
we
name
have
people.
itself
It's
for
not
this.
fair.
No,
But
we
that
have-
person
we
went
have-
public.
we have heard
He
about
even
it.
spoke
A
on Times
particular
Now
general
that
secretary,
there was favoritism,
Yes.
that certain individuals were cutting deals. So I think Tom Vadakkan is referring to that. Tom Vadakkan, we don't want to name anyone.
Who are you going to name?
It's not fair to name.
Okay, Tom Vadakkan, you're being
because-
asked a question from Sabah Naqvi. I'm not going to
I would
ask
love
that
to
question.
know who it is so that
She
we
wants to
can-
know who is this general secretary.
I mean, Tom knows I'm not I've done much more BJP coverage, so I really
Sabah,
don't
you know everything. Sabah, you know who is this general secretary. But I am not
actually
in the
don't.
habit of naming anybody. But you just precisely know that the gentleman who came from South India, I'm going to that extent,
Yes.
who has no clue of North India, was asked to select, supervise, and finally sign the candidates. How
that
do you
the-
blame
Still not
the
getting it,
opposition
Sabah.
when you
Is
have a
that the
ground
issue?
like that?
Would you agree?
Now you tell me, Rahul,
see, the-
if you do a stupid thing, sorry, you wouldn't. And if you do a stupid thing and your opponent takes advantage of it, who's to blame? The Indian National Congress and its leadership.
So this is
I
the
agree.
clique
There is
culture. It's the clique culture. It's an echo chamber that reaffirms certain obvious prejudices. They keep doing the rounds, and those prejudices end up
Can I just step in here?
misleading.
There is
The leadership.
a Raj
I
Darbari
still don't
culture
know
in
who
play
that-
that is obviously there. You
I
don't
really
who
want
the
to know.
person is.
Somebody write it and pass me a note.
We'll tell you after the show.
Well,
Okay.
after the show we will
Shahzad
tell you
Punawala, make your
because-
point. Make your point.
So there-
Raj Darbari culture.
There is a Raj Darbari culture, there is an echo chamber that operates, and I genuinely feel that despite the improvement in Rahul Gandhi over the past few years, he's been beaten up into improvement, but I still think that politics doesn't come naturally to both brother and to the sister. I would genuinely say, with hands folded, that I don't think that they are cut out for politics. I think
cut out for
this
politics.
election result should
Let
be
me
a...
tell you
Abdul
the
Razak,
kind of,
there's no
the
harm
kind
in
of
sitting away.
statements that Priyanka Gandhi ji has given, the kind of speeches that she has given, large crowds were attracted only by her appearance. Later when she
can I
spoke,
take an issue with that?
Yeah.
Can I
Okay.
let me say?
Yeah.
You know, in India, at least in North India, in the Hindi belt, even a helicopter attracts crowds.
Yes.
That's
By the
right.
time
No,
it
but she
lands,
spoke
no,
well.
can I
She
finish?
connected. She
Exactly.
never
If
spoke
Priyanka
anything.
was drawing
She
crowds,
never spoke
it was
anything
just
about
just
big issues.
purely
She
out of
just
curiosity.
connected
No, let me
They are not
common
going
people.
to turn into
Can I-
votes.
She
And
connected
on
with
23rd,
common
you will
people.
find out how many votes she is
Can I-
able
can
to
I make a
draw.
point?
Yesterday,
I
Times
have
was
no
there is
doubt.
an increase in the vote share.
Absolutely a
I want
zero,
to- I
a
want
big
to be
under.
fair. I
So
want
She
to
wants to be fair.
here. I
Okay,
want
she wants to be fair.
here. Yeah, she sounds
So in all
charming
fairness.
sometimes and everything, but it was so badly done. You bring her in on the eve of an election.
that
you
is
bring
different.
her.
But
No,
what
can I
Shehzad is
finish?
saying, that they are not made for politics.
No, but
You
who
see,
is-
what-
one second.
what there is-
One second, let her finish.
strategy
Let her make the
failed
point.
I'll tell you one
that
thing.
I am
Congress
fighting for
has
Sabha's right to
accept.
speak. It's a
They-
new normal.
See,
Let her
you are,
complete.
you are
Let her
bringing
complete.
Priyanka.
Achari Sahab, 1 minute. Let her finish.
complete
Let her
it.
make her
Let her
point.
make
I am
basic
just
point.
making one point
Okay.
that obviously I get, I mean, even a chopper attracts crowds, and most of these road shows and all that she did, they were very, I mean, of course she would attract crowds, she's a new thing, she's a Gandhi, but nobody in UP was getting convinced at all to vote for the Congress, and they have to recognize that reality and strategically to put
but
her
who
into
is
this
the,
campaign.
who is that they? Who is the they? Who is the they? And I
The
want to
voters
ask.
that they want.
No, I want to ask Sunit Chopra, who brought in Priyanka Gandhi at the last moment?
Why did she
Who
come
brought her? Who brought her in? It was obviously her
I
brother.
know, the
She left
better-
the choice to her
Rahul,
brother. The
the
general
boys-
makes the mistakes.
The most important
No, the
thing is
general makes
she
the mistakes. The
stated-
foot soldiers. No, look how poor this is.
She
Look at this.
stated, She
The-
stated that it is
the-
they are
the
fighting
loyalists-
for 2022.
Today, the
Absurd
loyalists.
thing.
No, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 second, sir. Forget the sister. Forget the sister.
Candidates.
1
they
minute.
should have declared we are going to
She
fight
said
only
we are fighting
2022.
these
We will
elections,
sit
but not
outside
only
the
this
playground.
election.
So they should
She
have.
said we are fighting this
clearly
election,
said,
but
no?
not
We are
only
not-
this election.
we are not here to win the election. She said we are not here to win the election.
We are not here to win the election.
She said every election is not fought to win.
Tell me, Abdul Razak, has anybody ever gone to a war saying we are not here to win the war, we are just here to fire the bullets in the sky?
She said we are
I
here
mean,
to
like, who
fight
says
this
that?
election.
First,
We have
let me
elections
complete.
in the future as well.
Let me complete. Sir, let me complete. Abdul Razak, my only limited question is, I sometimes feel Rahul did a
You
fast
are
one on
going
his sister.
into
Let me explain
irrelevant
why.
things.
Rahul went to the safe havens of Wayanad, where Congress was anyways going to do well in Kerala, got his leadership. He knew that we are going to get a bad result. He got a good showing in Kerala. He sent his sister to a very tough East UP where there's no seats, and now his sister
She
can't
was
even
introduced
fight
at the
for
right
the claim
time.
of the leadership.
They have to
He's
do
actually
it.
punctured his sister.
Well,
What Arun Jaitley said,
there
बंद
will
मुट्ठी खाक
definitely be
की
an
खुल
increase
गई,
in vote
बंद
share.
मुट्ठी लाख की खुल गई तो खाक की. Rahul
They
Gandhi has
will
made sure that his
definitely
sister's Brahmastra
Okay,
is over.
so hang on.
Vote share.
Everyone here is agreed on one point, that the buck must stop somewhere at the decision maker's table. And can there be any doubt today that the person calling the shots is Congress President Rahul Gandhi? Mr. Chopra, let me ask you, Mr. Sunit Chopra, if every decision, including
yes.
introducing his sister at whatever late stage, the messaging, the chokidar chor, what have you, if all those decisions are taken by Mr. Rahul Gandhi, will he now be held to account for the debacle that is staring the Congress in its face? And I can tell you that there are many people who are saying 55 might even be the upper limit.
Yes.
And we've done the numbers. It's looking probable.
You are talking of the debacle. What about the BJP? There are two Gandhis put up by the Congress. There are two Gandhis put up by the BJP. And the debacle the BJP is going to face in UP is going to be no less than that of the Congress, with 57 seats at least
What are you winning?
going
One second.
to the Gathbandhan.
Sir, talk about
Mr.
Sir,
That's
sir,
SP,
just give me
BSP
30 seconds. Look at
and
the numbers
RLD.
on the screen. You know, you can keep talking in circles. We can keep looking for scapegoats. You can say that Modi is
If
won
you
because
look
of
at
Modi,
one-
machine,
one
no,
particular-
media,
one
money.
particular
But that
survey,
applied in
it
Karnataka,
gave the
that
BJP
applied in
10
Gujarat,
extra
that
seats
applied in the assembly
overnight.
elections. Did all
Another
those
one
desert
said
Mr. Modi?
four
No.
BJP are
The
winning
point
in
is you
Punjab
cannot
when only
completely
three
suggest
contested.
today that this is a
And
default
a
vote in his
particular
favor. It's a
channel,
default mandate. It is
which
no
you
longer
know
that.
well,
You're seeing the
gave
numbers.
2.5% votes to Aam Aadmi Party in Uttarakhand when it didn't even
Okay,
contest.
let me ask you.
What are
let
we
me ask you,
talking
Mr.
about?
Tom Badakkan, let me ask you. Let me ask you. Yes, you know, I know that jobs
Stop
data is
asking
not
Tom
out there
Badakkan,
in
you better
public
ask
because
Nitin
perhaps
Kaur
there
to
is
give
something
more
to hide.
facts.
But even you must be astounded at your conversion rate in the Hindi heartland. Even you must today say that this must definitely be a pro-incumbency. I won't use the word wave, but an advantage perhaps, some sort of a endorsement. Even you will say this today, perhaps with a bit of surprise.
No, Rahul, I mean, this was not a rocket science technology. It was waiting to happen because strategy. I don't think anybody can beat our Bharatiya Janata Party's team as far as strategy goes. B, when the other side has opened up everything in such a fashion that by default this whole thing was waiting to happen. There was a statement by Priyanka Vadera Gandhi in which she categorically says candidates were standing and she's been
Maybe the
labeled as a
messaging
vote
was
cutter.
atrocious.
Then the candidates.
Maybe the
then
deflection away
there
from
were
the
no
main
research
issues
done
cost the
on
Congress, and
what kind
someone
of
needs to put
candidate
their hand up
went.
finally and say, okay, we made a mistake. Now I'll tell you, viewers, 1 minute, I want to sign off. Yes, I just want to sign off, sir. I don't have much time. I'm under pressure. I need to sign off, take the break. Viewers, despite the anti-incumbency, despite the fact that Rahul Gandhi has said demo has depopulated rural India, despite the fact that there are no jobs, the BJP vote shares on fewer seats has grown by 0.5%. Now, in tight contests in Uttar Pradesh, where there's hardly anything in it, and we are talking about at least 20 seats, which could be decided over 1%, that 0.5% could come in and create what many people today are predicting, especially those pollsters who are giving the BJP 60 plus seats. And there it is. It's on your screen. Chanakya, Axis. Look at those. Ipsos. 3 polls. it could well be that that number could go up to 65 or even 68. Viewers, pay attention to the vote share. That number no one has really discussed. And that bump up on fewer seats could prove to be the difference. We leave it at that.